Ladies and gentlemen, we got no electricity, we got no power. You know what the Eskom employees need? A pay rise. And welcome back to Morning Shit. I feel like it's morning shit because that's what it is. It's just a load of shit. So this is news that has just come out from News 24 that Eskom employees are getting a 1.5% pay increase. I mean, we're all at stage 4 load shedding. There's no power. There's no grid. The whole thing's fucked to hell. But you know what they need? A pay rise. What do you think of that, Ramon?
Yes, Byron, hello. Indeed, I can't give a straight face for this particular story because until recently we had Eskom load shedding level 4 indefinitely. Eskom is so bankrupt, it's not even funny. There is hardly any diesel to power up whatever things actually work in Eskom. And now the CCMA says, oh, by the way, Eskom, you need to pay your employees 1.5% extra, which is backdated to July of last year. Mate, all the money is being spent on like keeping the grid together. And now the CCMA is like, oh no, the workers come fast. And it's just only in Africa, man. I have no words other than to say TIA, and yeah, you carry on because I'm literally wordless.
They can't keep the lights on. The president's coming up with some crazy ideas every day. Nearly a 40% rate increase on electricity because there's no fucking money. You know what we need? A pay rise. Clearly, man. Apparently, all the ships bringing food in and all the other shit to the country, they could get in fine. But the Eskom ship, just like the rest of Eskom, couldn't find the way. And so it was stuck out at sea, apparently, which meant that we were going to have load shedding indefinitely, even though the ship was going to arrive here eventually, I suppose. Never mind. But apparently, you remember, does everybody remember that chick at Eskom? Like the board director that was like, hey, ANC is full of shit. You know, they came here with all their crazy ideas. They're the one that fucked up Eskom. Why are we getting blamed for it? The ANC should just piss off. And then the ANC was like, hey, she's a board member, but she doesn't speak for us. Do you remember that one? Well, she resigned. She was like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. And she's left. Like, do you reckon De Ruyter is next, mate?
So, interestingly, let us not forget that there is going to be a new Eskom board for some reason, and now De Ruyter is going to serve at the behest of that particular board. So the previous board was sort of half crony, half external people, like this Busi Mabuso character, who I don't rate that highly, don't get me wrong. I think we'll see who she's replaced with. But I don't see De Ruyter lasting another year in the job. Because first of all, as we said before on this channel, his mandate was to keep the BE tenders growing, but also make sure that the grid remains stable. The former has been done, the latter, unfortunately, not, because he doesn't have the power to do anything. Ironically, as Eskom CEO, he doesn't have the power, figuratively and literally. So I think it's quite easy for the ANC to say, look, we put the white guy in and he still screwed it up, so we're going to get rid of the white guy. Just to show you, just to spite you, just to indicate to the world that whites are not better than blacks. I really think that was maybe the plan from the beginning.
Yeah, so I mean, I watched the clown in chief's address today. He had questions in Parliament, and they asked him a question about the energy grid, and they said, "Well, how did you fuck up?" And he said, "Well, you see how I fucked up," and he actually admits he fucked up. Is he said, "Well, actually, it wasn't me; it was my predecessor, because some clown in the past decided let's stop actually building new power stations." And he said what ended up happening when we stopped building power stations is all the skills left and they went abroad. And we were left then needing new stations. So we commissioned two. We went them out to the public sector. We asked the public to help us design it. They built these things, they designed them, and then we built them because we didn't really know whether or not the ideas were right or wrong. So the clown in chief makes a really good case. Except he's fucking lying. So let's actually really consider what happened, Ramon. And you tell me if I'm wrong. What really happened is they came in and said, Whiteys, piss off. We are replacing you with BEE because your time is up, mate. And we need some BEE people here and we need some affirmative action. So please leave. And what they did is they had nobody with any merit. They were ANC cadres who took their place. The ANC cadres looted the shit out of Eskom and then were like, crap, we need some new power stations. So how did they procure these power stations? Well, I'm glad you asked. A BEE contract from a company that had never built a power station before. And then they got some affirmative action architects who had never designed a power station before to draw up the plans of a power station that looked roughly right based on the back of a cereal box. And what ended up happening is they built a bullshit power station. Only no one at Eskom knew it was bullshit because they were too stupid to know. They were like, oh, it looks complicated. It looks like it's got a flute or something and smoke goes up and seems like it will work. So what ended up happening is they built a load of shit because they had no expertise. And now Cyril's going, "Weren't me, Gov. Someone else. Not my fault."
And according to the article from 2015, my friend, 2015, out of the 3,400 whites that had to be, let's say, paid to leave Eskom, 3,200 of those are the posts that were on critical, technical, and managerial levels. This was in 2015, my friends. 2015. And back then, the utility, i.e. Eskom, planned to reflect the national demographic of the country by the 31st of March 2020. While they passed that with flying colors, the problem is there's no electricity, so we can't see how demographically representative Eskom actually is. It's wonderful. How do we know they actually got people there to reflect it, the demography of the country, if no one can see them? Because there's no freaking. Eskom has 30,000 employees too much. So they let go of all the whites starting in 2015, and now they have to replace the 3,000 whites with 30,000 non-whites, for the lack of a better term, and there's no power.
So the audience may go, yeah, but aren't you two just being like racist and stuff? I don't give a flying shit who works at Eskom as long as they can keep the fucking lights on. And they're kind of screwing that up, aren't they? Have you guys noticed there's no electricity? So just as well as you and I are off the grid, Ramon, because if we weren't, like, yeah, it's a bit shit, isn't it? Like, this is kind of ongoing now. And from the latest news, it's not going away, chaps. So, New Dawn Ramaphoria, it's fantastic. Never had as much load shedding before. Highest load shedding ever seen in the country. Cyril's doing great. Keep voting ANC.